So we're back to Photoshop this week for the Create With Me session. This here is Dave Fabio. Fabio Dave? It's me with long hair. This is brought up through, I think it was in the Blender Hub, which the link is pinned to this chat right now. Blender Hub is that other community that I've talked about in Discord, where if you're interested in 3D rendering and whatnot, and Blender specifically, awesome group of guys there. And I don't remember how it came up, but somehow I mentioned Fabio because we were talking about the 90s and people didn't know who Fabio was. If you don't know who Fabio is, this is Fabio. He is kind of the romance icon of like historical fiction. He was on all these books. This is Pirate Fabio. So it's his long, luxurious hair. He also did I Can't Believe It's Not Butter.
I can't believe it's not butter.
So this is something that I want to show you because this is something my wife made. She was doing a Fabio-Inspired thing. So she made this out of clay. This part's wood, but like the rest of this is clay, and then she painted it. Let's see. There you go. So this is clay Fabio, and that's pretty close to this one. There's another one that she, I think, combined with it for the colors. But anyway, so this what you're seeing on screen, Dave Fabio, whatever you want to call him, is brought up from something that I might have been Philip, it might have been Dan, I can't remember who it was, but anyway, so this is what we're going to work on, Photoshop. So I had gone through a process of like traditional compositing. I did a little bit of it. I actually think I got rid of, oh no, it's right here. So if I just take this is a wig or a piece of hair that I got from Envato Elements. And actually, let me pull this up. Let's see here. So this is Envato Elements. They actually literally just made their design changes live within the last couple hours, because you see like it says the same awesome subscription for creatives. Now if it's a different style to match, they've been telling us for like a month, hey, we're going to change our style. But so I don't know, I might see some different things on here. This is not like sponsored by them. This is just where I go for basically all my assets. One of the cool things about them is you can type in, like up here, you can type in hair, whatever, and then you can say, okay, I like this hair. And you can do view 360 render, and then you can drag to rotate it to the angle that you want. So if you're a compositor, this is phenomenal, because maybe I have I'm doing it from the back, or from the side, or straight on, or whatever it is. You can get that angle, and so I got roughly this angle, and I exported it to match my face. And then I downloaded it as a PSD. And then once you download as a PSD or a PNG, then you can open it up as you normally would. So check out Envato. Again, not sponsored by them. It's just where I go for everything. And so that's where I downloaded this guy. So it's a smart object. But I was having some difficulty, and I wanted to try and see how the AI for Photoshop would do with this. It did a tremendous job. This, by the way, is Photoshop, like OG. This is normal Photoshop. They brought in the AI generative fill stuff over into real Photoshop. You don't need to have the beta now. So this is using Firefly 3. It's got all sorts of different stuff that we've gone over before, like the adjustment brush tool and the selection brush tool. And anyway, super cool. So this is now not just in beta, which is kind of nice. So anyway, I went through a couple different variations. So this is the photo, obviously. And then I think, yeah, that's the one we're going to go with. But let's see. I had a couple other ones. So this is like Rockstar Dave, right? So this is like nice and long, luxurious hair. That's great. This is all based off of the different section that I said that I allowed it to work off of. So you can see here, this layer mask is, if I do that there. You can see the parts that is not in red is the stuff that I told it to generative fill. So it only could really work within this space. And so you can see obviously the hair, the ear is really weird. But it gave me like a bracelet and some weird shading and whatnot here. But I mean, it's not terrible. So anyway, I changed it from, what did I say? Long blonde hair. I just kept it super simple, and I got these three different variants. Um, and then I think I tried a different thing. Yeah, so same thing, long blonde hair. I selected one. This one's kind of interesting. Um, but I ended up really liking this, and I think there's much more to choose from. Yeah, because I actually said long blonde hair flowing down, body is strong with an epic background like those found in historical romance novel covers. And so what it did was it gave me some more like illustrative versions, and this is the one I kind of liked. It has some issues here which we could fix, but I didn't. I kind of went back and forth. Should I do this like and try to make this more photographic or make me look more illustrative to match? Because I thought this was funny. So I ran the generation a couple more times, and I mean, got some different things. I mean, let's see, where was it? No, it wasn't that guy. Uh oh, I lost it, guys. I lost it. I could just Command Z all the way through, which I might do. Oh no, is this guy? It was this guy. This looks kind of the most realistic. So this is the one that we're going to go through, and we're gonna. I mean, honestly, I could call this a day. Generative Fill did a great job. You can see right here. That's the only part of it that I told to keep. Just that little bit of my face, and I wanted it to kind of fill in the rest. So what I'm going to do is save this guy here. This is going to be a fairly quick edit, but that's the whole idea, was because I wanted to be able to complete something in time for this hour. And I have a tendency to chat a lot and not do an awful lot of work. So here we go. So we got one of the things that was kind of standing out to me was this here doesn't feel like the hair is connected. Almost, it looks like there's too much light, which might not be accurate, but I'm gonna change some of the lighting anyway. Here we go. So we got, all I did was I added a curves adjustment. Why don't we just start this from scratch? So get rid of this curves adjustment layer, go over here, adjustment layer, and do a curves adjustment layer. We're gonna just switch this over to maybe multiply. What I'm looking at is right here. I want to add a little bit of shadow to where the hair is, to show that there's a little bit of like shadow cast and that the light isn't coming up from underneath. There's not going to be a ton of it, but there will be some. So you can see these different layer effects. I want to do one of these 5 here to darken, multiply, color burn. If I did color burn, that is too intense and it crushes the blacks and it adds way too much contrast. So typically I'll go with multiply. Sometimes I'll go with linear burn, depending on the effect I'm going for. Darken doesn't really do a whole heck of a lot. Multiply by itself without actually adjusting anything on the curves adjustment panel, or without adjusting the curves whatsoever, it actually does a pretty damn good job. So I'm just going to take that guy and I'm going to Command I, and I'm just going to start to draw this in a little bit. You can see that is really intense. But so I'm going to pull that back, and there's a couple different ways I could pull that back. Number one being, I'm going to use my tablet. Now this I updated earlier today, Photoshop, and so there's going to be some behaviors that potentially are a little bit different. So bear with me, because I already noticed something different about this. You see that little purple magenta line right in the middle of the cursor. That's not something that I had before. So it might be a setting. So I'm going to change my flow over to 10, which is up here. So I can just hit Shift 1 to do that, just so that the flow ends up getting a little bit. There we go. That's not too bad. Now this is going to affect all the bright spots and make them darker. Just like that. This already had some here. So if I turn this off, you can see this already had some darkness here. So like Photoshop did a tremendous job to begin with. Let me just check my audio. Yeah. Okay, cool. Um, it's just I want to customize it, right? I mean, that's the whole point of doing this. Otherwise, AI is just gonna take over the world and do its own thing. So I have that there. I really don't want to adjust much more. I haven't really looked at this kind of at all, to be honest. I wanted it to just be kind of like what my process was and how I go through this whole thing. That's a little too much. From start to finish, but just saving you guys a little bit of the workload of like hunting and pecking and searching. Um, I want you guys to see the whole process. So that actually, let me see here. That's not too bad for like the overall. So I want to, because it's me, I might add a little bit of color into this. This honestly could do what I want it to do. But I might add a little bit of, I was playing around with this tonality. If you guys have seen my stuff before, you know that I like to mess around with the eyes. So this is a purple kind of lavender color. All right, and we got this like that. And so this is unnecessary, but this is where the fun is for me. Part of the fun. I mean, AI did so much of this already. So purple isn't the right color. Let's select a color that might be a little bit better. I'm gonna try to like make my eyes glow a little bit. What color do we want? What color do we like? What's a romantic color? Not red. Maybe let's go. Maybe actually that wasn't too far off. It's not a color that I normally go with, but um, yeah. Why don't we try? I want to try something else too. A little gradient map. So gradient maps. Before I go through and do this, um, oops, turn that guy off. Do this guy, and I want to change my gradient map. Let's see. So I could do something like that. A lot of times people will be looking for that kind of like blue and yellow tone that you see in movies a lot. This is a really good way to do it. Um, you can see what happens when I play with this. This is a gradient map, so it's going to affect. So you can see the three different colors here of what the gradient is, and then how it's going to affect. So you get darkness, you get the midtones here, and then the highlights. So it really kind of plays around. You could do like a rainbow color, which actually looks kind of fun. But then once you take something like this, actually just for, let's see, what's a good one? Ooh, it's kind of like a noir tone, even though it's already black and white. Like it's added some like cinescope kind of mode to it. Let's see. I want to show you something though. So let's do. That'll probably be pretty obvious there. Okay, so if we do this, then we play around with the blending modes. So you can see darken, multiply, color burn, which I kind of like. It's still way too intense, but you can see how, like, if I were to do this versus if I just did a hue saturation layer, and let's just, so this essentially makes it almost like a sepia tone. I mean, it's still a little too greeny for that, but if I were to just do, let's see, so I want to add, obviously it's black and white, so I need to colorize it. So like that would be a pretty good sepia tone. You can kind of change this up. Actually, let's go a little bit more like that. We're not going to do the sepia tone, but just to show you. So this would be kind of the manual hue saturation versus the gradient map. I don't know if you can really tell the difference, especially on lines. So this is kind of like an over, like it just colors everything that same tone versus this, which has, it affects the shadows a little bit differently and the highlights. And you could always take this and change this and say, I don't like that yellow. I'm going to change this too. I mean, that's pretty intense, but you could like make it a little more of a brown. So actually, I kind of like that. And then these oranges, maybe make them a little bit darker. Yeah. You can see like what I'm doing here is I'm pulling down. It's not like crushing it as much. I actually kind of like that. I don't have to go that dark. So it's just different. It's a way to play with multiple varying colors um, with one layer. And so, you know, you could change it to like iridescent, right? So that's actually not going to do much because I have, let's see, what do I have it on? I have it on soft light. So, come on. Oh, yeah. So, like that's pretty intense. You could dial this back if you wanted. You could say, oh, yeah, I want this to affect the darker colors a little bit more, you know, so you could play around with that. Anyway, that wasn't the whole idea of showing you this, but it's it's something that it's a tool that a lot of people sleep on, including myself. I don't use it a ton, but when I do, I typically have a good time with it.